welcome to the deep dive. This is where we really try to dig into the sources and pull out those real gems of knowledge.
Yeah, get right to the good stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And today, we've got this really fascinating essay you shared. It's all about awareness,
Yeah.
right? And how we see ourselves and the world around us.
That's right. And it kicks off with these really powerful, almost simple-sounding ideas. Things like, all hatred is self-hatred.
Right. And everything is feedback.
Exactly. And the source argues these aren't just, nice phrases. They're meant to be practical tools. Tools for figuring out that messy internal stuff we all deal with sometimes.
Absolutely. So our mission, really, in this deep dive, is to unpack the core insights from this essay. We want to help you see how this kind of awareness it talks about,
Yeah.
it isn't just a passive thing.
No, not at all. It can be a real antidote. Like when you feel stuck or maybe overwhelmed by what you think others think.
Or just doubting yourself constantly. Yeah. So we're going to walk through the key points together, try and connect the dots.
That's good. Let's dive in.
Okay. So the foundation where the essay really starts is this deep link between awareness and perception. It puts forward this, honestly, quite radical idea.
Which is?
That everything you experience, it's basically a reflection of you.
Okay, hang on. Not like the world revolves around me.
No, not like that. More like your entire reality, everything you experience, is limited by what you're actually aware enough to perceive. If you can't perceive it, it doesn't exist in your world.
Gotcha. That makes sense. It reminds me of that phrase the essay uses, that twist on the old saying.
Oh, yeah. Nothing is as it is as you are.
Exactly. And the flower example really brings that home, doesn't it?
It does. The idea that, without your awareness, your perception of its color, its smell, whatever, it's just,
Right.
matter. Your awareness gives it the beauty, the presence for you.
So it's not just abstract philosophy then?
Not according to this source, no. It leads straight to this other big statement. You are not in the world is in you. Wow, okay. So that means my internal state, my mood, my biases, my past stuff, that's the filter for everything.
That's the argument. Your level of awareness shapes the lens. So if things feel, harsh or confusing out there, the essay suggests looking in here first. What's going on internally?
Okay, so if perception shapes reality, how does awareness help change it? How does it become a tool?
Well, the essay suggests that just becoming aware of the dynamic is the first step. Like noticing your own anxious thoughts, noticing that you're assuming everyone's focused on you and judging you.
Just seeing that pattern.
Yeah, seeing it can start to take away its power. It's like pulling back the curtain on your own mind's kind of performance. Your ego assuming it's the center of attention, even negative attention.
Right, and there's a practical side, too, about not labeling things immediately.
Exactly. This idea of trying to unassign good and bad or right and wrong from everything instantly. Your feelings, things you see, what other people do.
Even the difficult stuff.
Especially the difficult stuff sometimes. The essay suggests seeing it all as potential feedback. Maybe even painful things can open you up to truths you'd otherwise just ignore.
Okay, that foundational idea, internal state, dictates external experience that feels huge. And it seems really crucial when the essay starts talking about navigating other people's perceptions.
Oh, absolutely. This is where some of the really practical insights come in, like point number 1, essentially.
Which is about actions versus words.
Yeah. Your actions, what you do, are ultimately way more powerful than anything anyone says about you. It really pushes back against that feeling that we're just victims of gossip or opinion.
So I control my behavior, who I am, how someone else sees that.
That's their interpretation. It's happening in their reality based on their awareness. The essay basically says that's their problem, not yours. Your choice is how much you let their view mess with your reality.
Okay. And building on that, there's that really interesting bit about what you think others think.
Ah, yes, that's key. The essay argues that projection is often way more important than what they actually think.
Why? How does that work?
Because what you project onto them, it's a direct reflection of your own mindset. Your fears, your insecurities, your assumptions about yourself.
So it's like holding up a mirror to myself.
Exactly. And here's the proof, according to the essay. When your mindset changes, your perception of what others think totally shifts too. It shows it was an internal thing all along, not some objective external truth.
Wow. Okay. So that leads into reactions then.
Precisely. The essay is super clear on this. Your reactions matter infinitely more than their actions.
Because I choose my reaction.
You choose your reaction. You can't ever really know the full story of what someone else thinks or why they said something. And honestly, the essay implies it's kind of none of your business if you're letting it define you.
So the change isn't about controlling them.
No, it's about changing how much you bend yourself out of shape based on what you imagine they might be thinking or saying.
That's powerful. And it gets specific too, right? About how we generalize worry.
Yes. Point 8 really hits on this, that often when we worry about people judging us, it's not really this vague, faceless crowd.
It's specific people.
Usually, yeah. Maybe just one or two individuals. Someone you feel didn't accept you, or someone you really wanted to impress but felt you failed with.
Like the essay's examples, that almost relationship person, or maybe a critical parent.
Exactly, those kinds of figures. And just identifying those specific faces can take that huge, overwhelming cloud of people are judging me and shrink it right down. It makes it less terrifying.
That makes sense. And related to that, there's the point about how much headspace we think we occupy in other people's minds.
Oh, definitely. Point 9. It's such a freeing idea, really. Nobody's thinking about you anywhere near as much as you are thinking about you.
We're the star of our own movie, but not necessarily anyone else's.
Pretty much. That internal panic we feel about how we're coming across, it relies on us predicting other people's thoughts, but those predictions, they're soaked in our own assumptions about ourselves.
While they're busy worrying about their own stuff.
Exactly. Everyone else is primarily focused on their own internal landscape, their own anxieties.
Okay, so that panic then.
Yeah.
The essay links it directly to wanting to change ourselves.
Yes, that's point 11. That feeling of intense panic about judgment, it often comes directly from wanting to twist yourself into whatever you think someone else wants you to be.
Because you need their approval to feel okay.
Precisely. If your sense of okayness, your stability, wasn't tied to their validation, that specific panic wouldn't have the same grip. It's a sign, the essay suggests, that your sense of worth, maybe even your purpose, is outsourced. It's externalized.
And that prevents real stability.
Right. Because it's inherently unstable, depending on others' whims.
So what's the escape route? How do you break that cycle, according to the essay?
The solution offered is, well, it's profound, I think. It's point 12. You have to make something matter more to you than how other people see you.
More than external validation.
Yes. If your entire sense of self-worth is tied up in superficial external things the essay mentions, looks, money, approval, then anxiety is almost guaranteed. Because ultimately, those things lack deep meaning.
So find genuine meaning.
Find genuine meaning. True worth, real stability, it comes from knowing internally what you offer, what your values are, maybe what your purpose is, focusing intensely on that. It makes the petty concerns about what others think just fade.
They lose their power.
They lose their power. The essay suggests you become almost blind to that kind of external judgment because your gaze is fixed on something much more important, something internal.
That focus on the internal. It shifts us naturally into talking about growth, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And changing perspective over time.
It really does. And the essay has this surprisingly positive take on something most of us probably feel kind of weird about. Feeling embarrassed about your younger self. You know, cringing at past choices or ways you were.
Oh, yeah. Definitely felt that.
Well, point 5 in the essay says that's actually a good sign. It means you've grown, you've progressed, you've moved beyond who you used to be.
Never thought of it that way. So if you don't feel embarrassed.
The essay implies maybe you haven't changed much. Maybe you haven't really grown or even lived that much since then. It's a provocative thought.
It really is. Okay, what about dealing with problems? The essay makes a distinction there too, right?
A really vital one, point 6. It distinguishes between the real underlying problems and just their surface symptoms.
And we usually focus on the symptoms.
Almost always, according to the essay, it uses the example of someone trying frantically to lose weight because they have a body image issue. Losing weight is treating the symptom.
While the root cause is something deeper.
Exactly. Maybe it's a lack of real self-love, the kind that isn't dependent on what the scale says or how you look. Addressing those roots, it's much harder, much messier. But the essay argues it's the only way to find lasting change. You have to go deeper than the surface.
That resonates. And sometimes those deeper issues feel so isolating, like you're the only one.
But that's where point 7 comes in. Such an important reminder. Your fears, your insecurities, that feeling of not being good enough, You are not alone in that.
It feels that way sometimes.
It absolutely does. But the essay argues that self-loathing is what creates that illusion of isolation. It makes you feel like this uniquely flawed other. But the reality is, billions of people have felt those same things. It's part of the human condition.
So recognizing that universality can lessen the sting.
It can lessen the suffering that comes from feeling uniquely broken or alone in your experience. Misery loves company, but maybe understanding the company as universal is even better.
Yeah. And there's a sense of urgency, too, isn't there,
Mm-hmm.
about what we focus on?
Definitely. Point 10 brings that home. There is simply too much at stake in your one life, too much potential for joy, for meaning, for connection, to waste your precious time and energy fixating on things that are, well, ultimately impermanent and unimportant.
Distractions, basically.
Total distractions from what actually nourishes you, what brings you alive.
And these ideas even apply to relationships, like romantic ones.
Oh, for sure. Point 4 touches on this. It suggests that the people who are actually worth building a real connection with, they're probably way more accepting than your own insecurities are telling you.
So stop chasing the validation from the wrong people.
Exactly. If you're pouring all your energy into seeking approval from someone who just won't or can't give it, you're not only exhausting yourself, you're closing yourself off.
Closing yourself off from someone who would accept you.
Someone who might love you and connect with you genuinely, regardless of, the superficial stuff like having flawless abs or whatever your particular insecurity is. Real connection doesn't thrive on conditions.
Okay, so if we try and pull all these different threads together, what's the big picture here?
I think the central theme, the core message really, is awareness. Awareness of all these dynamics we've been talking about.
Like how our internal state really does shape our perception.
Yeah, and how that constant search for external validation just fuels anxiety.
And realizing our insecurities aren't unique, they're actually pretty universal.
Exactly. Becoming aware of those patterns, understanding them, that's presented as the absolute key.
It really comes back to that phrase from the beginning, doesn't it? Everything is feedback.
It really does. Everything you perceive the world around you, how people seem to react, the situations you find yourself in the essay argues it's all reflecting something back.
Reflecting my own state of being, my mindset.
Your mindset, maybe your unhealed stuff, or maybe even your growing strength and awareness. It's all feedback.
So, after digging into all this, what's the main takeaway? What does it all boil down to?
Well, I think this deep dive really highlights how much of our suffering, that feeling of being stuck or anxious, it doesn't actually start out there.
It starts in here.
Yeah. Within our own internal landscape, our perceptions, the stories we tell ourselves, our assumptions, that desperate need for someone else to say we're okay.
And awareness, then, isn't just knowing that. It's active.
It's totally active, according to this essay. It's the tool. It's the ability to see those self-defeating patterns happening in the moment.
Recognize them for what they're often internal loops.
Right. And then, and this is the crucial part, make a conscious choice. A choice to shift your focus, maybe change your reaction, and start, slowly perhaps, but surely, shaping a different reality for yourself.
It feels like the essay is making this really strong case for turning inward, for cultivating that internal stability first.
Absolutely. And fiercely guarding your focus, putting it on what genuinely matters to you, not just what you think matters to others.
And that's how you loosen the grip of worrying about what everyone else might be thinking.
That seems to be the core argument. It's about reclaiming your focus and your sense of worth.
Okay. So here's maybe a final thought then, something for you listening to take away, drawing straight from this source.
Yeah.
If this essay is right, if your reality really is shaped more by how you are internally than just how things objectively are, can you think of just one small shift, one tiny change in your awareness, or maybe just where you deliberately place your focus today? Just one thing.
That might fundamentally change how you experience something you've been maybe struggling with.
Exactly. Just one small shift. What could that be for you?
That's a great question to sit with.
Definitely something to think about.
Yeah.
And that's it for this deep dive. We really hope exploring these ideas has been valuable for you.